The deep state conspiracy theory refers to the belief that there exists a hidden, powerful, and secretive network of unelected officials or entities within the government, the military, and other sectors of power that operate independently of the elected government. Proponents of this theory argue that this clandestine group exerts significant control over public policy and national affairs, often working against the interests of the elected government or the public. The idea of a deep state has been prevalent in various forms around the world, but in recent years, it has gained particular prominence in the political discourse of the United States. Origins of the deep state concept. The concept of a deep state is not new, and its roots can be traced back to several historical contexts. The term itself is believed to have originated in Turkey in the 20th century, where it was used to describe a shadowy network of military officers, intelligence operatives, and bureaucrats who were believed to be working behind the scenes to maintain a certain political order, often at the expense of democratic institutions. In the United States, the idea of a deep state began to gain traction in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, particularly among certain conservative and populist groups. These groups argued that a hidden network of bureaucrats, often referred to as the permanent government, was working to undermine the will of the people and the policies of elected officials. This idea was fueled by a general distrust of government and a belief that power was concentrated in the hands of a few elite individuals or groups. Key elements of the deep state theory. The deep state conspiracy theory is built on several key elements. 1. Shadowy network of elites. At the core of the deep state theory is the belief that a small, secretive group of elites controls the government and other institutions. This group is said to include unelected bureaucrats, intelligence officials, military officers, and sometimes even members of the judiciary. These individuals are believed to operate independently of the elected government and to pursue their own interests, often at the expense of democratic principles. 2. Undermining of elected officials. Proponents of the deep state theory argue that this shadowy network works to undermine the policies and agendas of elected officials, particularly those who threaten their interests. This can take the form of leaks to the media, bureaucratic resistance, or even more covert actions such as sabotage or assassination. 3. Control over public discourse. The deep state is also believed to exert control over the media and public discourse, shaping public opinion and ensuring that their actions remain hidden from the general population. This control is said to extend to major news outlets, social media platforms, and other forms of communication. 4. Global reach. Some versions of the deep state theory suggest that this shadowy network is not confined to a single country but operates on a global scale, working to maintain a certain world order. This version of the theory often incorporates elements of other conspiracy theories, such as those involving globalist elites, secret societies, or even extraterrestrial beings. Historical examples and parallels. While the deep state conspiracy theory is often dismissed as unfounded, there have been historical examples of governments or groups that operated in ways that resemble the deep state concept. For example, during the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union both engaged in covert operations, espionage, and other forms of secretive behavior that were hidden from the public. These actions were often carried out by intelligence agencies, such as the CIA or the KGB, and were designed to influence foreign governments or maintain control over certain regions. In some countries, particularly in the Middle East and Latin America, the idea of a deep state has been used to describe the influence of the military or intelligence agencies over civilian governments. For example, in Egypt, the military has long been seen as a powerful force that operates independently of the elected government and exerts significant control over the country's political affairs. The deep state in modern American politics. The deep state conspiracy theory gained significant prominence in the United States during the presidency of Donald Trump. Trump and his supporters frequently used the term to describe what they saw as a concerted effort by unelected bureaucrats and other officials to undermine his administration and prevent him from carrying out his policies. This narrative was particularly prominent during the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election, which Trump and his supporters described as a witch hunt orchestrated by the deep state. They argued that the investigation was part of a broader effort by the deep state to remove Trump from office and restore the status quo. The deep state theory also played a significant role in the 2020 presidential election, with Trump and his supporters claiming that the election was rigged by the deep state in favor of Joe Biden. This belief was a driving force behind the January 6, 2021, attack on the U.S. Capitol, in which a mob of Trump supporters stormed the building in an attempt to prevent the certification of Biden's victory. Criticisms and debunking. The deep state conspiracy theory has been widely criticized by scholars, journalists, and government officials, who argue that it is based on unfounded claims and a misunderstanding of how government functions. Critics argue that the theory relies on a simplistic and paranoid view of politics, in which all actions by government officials are seen as part of a nefarious plot. One of the main criticisms of the deep state theory is that it conflates normal bureaucratic resistance or dissent with a coordinated effort to undermine the government. In any large organization, including the government, there will always be disagreements and conflicts between different branches or agencies. However, this does not necessarily mean that there is a shadowy conspiracy at play. Additionally, many of the actions attributed to the deep state can be explained by more mundane factors, such as the complexity of government, the slow pace of bureaucracy, or the natural checks and balances that exist in democratic systems. For example, the deep state's alleged control over public discourse can often be explained by the fact that the media and other institutions are influenced by a wide range of factors, including public opinion, market forces, and journalistic standards. The deep state conspiracy theory is a reflection of broader anxieties and distrust in government and other institutions. While the theory itself is largely unfounded, it speaks to a real sense of frustration and disillusionment among certain segments of the population, who feel that their voices are not being heard and that the government is not working in their best interests. In a democratic society, it is important to remain vigilant against abuses of power and to ensure that government officials are held accountable for their actions. However, it is equally important to avoid falling into the trap of conspiracy thinking, which can undermine trust in democratic institutions and lead to further polarization and division. Ultimately, the deep state conspiracy theory is a reminder of the need for transparency, accountability, and open dialogue in government and public life. By addressing the underlying concerns that fuel such theories, society can work towards a more informed and engaged citizenry, better equipped to navigate the complexities of modern politics.